Welcome everyone to Becoming Awesome, AWS's live stream podcast where Amazon insiders introduce you to the humans of AWS. I'm your host, Ray Thomas, senior recruiter from AWS's infrastructure organization, along with my amazing co-host, Jenna Last, principal recruiter. And whether you're streaming, through the live link and just lurking or sign into your Twitch and the YouTube account, ready to engage with us, or even watching this on demand later on. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today we have Akhila Gudla, principal and America's leader for AWS Enterprise Transformation, go-to-market, driving and orchestrating business-led transformations for multi-billion-dollar enterprise customers based out of New York City, looking to dive into to their passions and everything else, and just to really get to know who they are inside and outside of work, because I think she has a fantastic story. But first off, Jenna, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good, Ray. Thank you. You seem your peppy self, so I hope you're doing as well. It's nice
Yeah.
to be back after not being here for a few episodes. So.
Well, welcome back. You were definitely missed. I love it when you're here because you bring this other flair and other perspective that really, I think, balances the show, because there's a lot of times you ask these thoughtful questions that I wasn't thinking about that I think is really important. And so always happy to have you here.
Yeah, I can say the same about you.
Well, I try. I learn from you, right? So let's bring on our guest. Hello, hello. How are you, Akhila?
Hey, Ray, Jenna, nice to meet you and thrilled to be here. I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, great, and thrilled to have you. Thrilled to have you. So why don't we start with just quick introductions?
Sure. Well, I'm Akhila, and I am the America's leader for AWS Enterprise Transformation Go-to-Market. Like you said, I'm based out of New York offices. I work with large enterprise customers and transformation leaders, and my day-to-day job is really helping them de-risk their business, accelerate their business transformations, and derive better value.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's I think I was telling you before we started, you and Jenna, you'll have some things to talk about that you have in common, especially like yoga. So I was like, so there you go. Yeah, she has a smile on her face. We actually had like something related to yoga on the rooftop here in New York City. She actually put together a group of people and had like an instructor come out and do some yoga. So it was really interesting. So I'll let you two chat about that in a little bit. So yeah, we met through the Slack group for the women at Amazon's Affinity Group, and
That's right.
that's right. And wanted to ask you. I'll start off with just asking you, what's a like, what do you get out of being part of that group? What made you join it, and what's it been like for you?
Well, I'm a big fan of affinity groups, right? Any kind, right? Women at Amazon, women at AWS, women at business transformation, and a lot more that are prevalent throughout local chapters, but also at a national level at Amazon. So, well, what it brings, I think it really helps open new doors, open new opportunities for you, just like this one, how this came about, right, in a very quick turnaround. And that's great. And it does help build connections. And Amazon has many businesses within it, right? So when you can venture out of your own, I'm part of AWS, but I always meet people from other businesses and learn what they're doing, and really exciting to have these conversations.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah, I would imagine in your role too, it sounds so diverse in all these many initiatives that you are doing. So, do you mean that these types of interactions help you maybe in you when you get stuck in your work day-to-day challenges, or is it more around opening up doors from a career perspective to like learn about what other jobs are and how that may benefit you to consider down the road?
I believe it's not necessarily an either or, right? It's an and spectrum. And when I work with my customers and my sales teams, um, these are different conversations that I have with them on a day-to-day basis based on what is needed for the work. But the adjacent conversations we understand about the business itself, how the teams are structured, what various businesses are driving, what's important to them, the nature of the industry we're in, sectoral trends, industry trends, challenges that we are seeing, learning from each other, right? I think that's a big component that plays a role both personally, meeting people, like-minded people like you who have an interest in yoga, or somebody else who works in a specific sector where I'm working all as well.
Yeah.
So,
So tell us more about your role, right? And the value. So it looks like you grew up in consulting, and I wonder what the transition from the consulting side to your role here at AWS looks and feels like, because there's probably many other people that may wonder what that's like, and where the value was in your career to do that.
oh, absolutely. It's been a fun journey so far. Very exciting, right? I have global experience. I worked extensively in India, in Asia, in London for a bit with different customers, and then, of course, in North America for the past 10, 11 years. And spent a predominant time of my career with consulting, right, in GSIs, and where you really pick up a number of different skills, fungible skills, right, that you can take to different roles. And obviously, over the past 18 years, I have done different things. I was not always in technology. I was doing business development for hospitality. I was doing business development for real estate. I was running operating models and IT transformations within my experience. And as cloud picked up, and as cloud became an industry in itself, right, many years ago, I made a pivot and that's where like we can talk about career pivots and how they're important, right, and what you want to be and how do you want to shape your career. I made this career pivot to cloud, and I was part of cloud strategy, architecture, and transformation offering in my previous role. And when this opportunity to be part of enterprise transformation and be a specialist in it came by, I thought it was a good one to scale and made a logical step to be part of AWS, the world's biggest cloud provider.
It's
I've got some
fantastic.
pictures too.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Can you walk us through this? Like, what was this picture from?
Uh, this picture was from a conference earlier this year. I think around February 6th or 7th in Atlanta. It's a CMG conference that was hosted, and I like to speak in general, right? And I like public speaking and networking. So this opportunity came by, and it was very exciting. Of course, there's a lot that's happening in generative AI and digital transformation. So the topic was right up my alley, where I was going to talk about potential of AI ML technologies in an industry 4.0, right? How do we see that? What are some of the trends? What I have heard from our customers? What are some of the lessons learned over the past few engagements that we have driven? So it was a really interesting topic to talk about. We hear that all around, right? But this goes hand in hand with my interest in public speaking and opportunities such as these. I think, like I said, open doors and open conversations and open opportunities.
Well, thank you for that. I talk about public speaking and how important it is to find leaders like yourself to go out to the community and not only share your knowledge, but just give that opportunity face to face to interact with them and get to understand the community in a more intimate setting, direct setting. It's one thing to deal with customers, but it's another thing to deal with even potential customers or people that may not be a customer right now, but they're maybe putting together a foundation, whether it's professionally for themselves personally, right? Or maybe for their organization, and maybe something they could leverage a few years down the line. But it's so important to have that diverse set of folks interested in that topic come together. Um,
Yeah, so if you can talk about something next, what is bringing you passion these days as you're sort of out there in the field and you're talking and learning and listening to different topics? What's sort of igniting your fire for what you'd like to talk about next?
On work or off work?
Um, we can let's talk about work first.
Gotcha. Yeah, like I said, it's super exciting, right? We everything is changing at a very fast pace that we have not been what we have not thought about, right, in recent times, right? The changes in technology, changes from anything from manufacturing to GPUs to how tech is consumed, enterprise technology as well as customer consumer technology, and then what we can do with our customers, right? So if there is so much out there that is changing all the time, right? And it catching up. I
Yeah.
it takes up consumes a lot of my time, and that's where I think some of these conversations with peers, with industry leaders, are really helpful in sharpening what we know and validating how we can be there for our customers, right? And for ourselves and for our teams. So day by day to day, what I do is understand how our customers want to transform their business, right? How can they, what is it that they want to achieve over the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, right? And how can they actually get to that faster with our help? Right. So if we understand, and working backwards is something that we focus on a lot as an organization, right? It's not just my team. As an organization, we talk about what is the end goal, what's the working backwards, where do we work backwards from? And using that North Star and understanding that North Star for the customer is absolutely important to then define how we can be better partners, how we can be more strategic in the work that we do with our customers. So once I understand what our customers' business goals are, outcomes are, and it usually is a function of products, new revenues, better efficiencies in the system, new markets. So it usually falls in one of these categories. And then how can we accelerate their journey along this business transformation? We as Amazon and AWS do many things differently. How we innovate, we're a very data driven organization, right? We operate in the field of technology, and which goes hand in hand in how technology can achieve business goals. So how do we bring all of these things, right? These are not linear by nature. How can we help customers innovate what they do, how they go about it, think differently, use AI, ML, use generative AI, use data driven insights, and how can they transform their business and achieve their goals using all of these value drivers is something that I'm very passionate about, and defining that roadmap and driving that orchestration that takes a bulk of my time,
Mhm.
right? At the
Did
end
you
of the day,
create this approach? Is this your design?
this is my
Your
teams,
think
this is my
design? Yeah.
organizations, this is a AWS transformation approach, right? You can
Yeah.
think about this as the mental model that
Mhm.
we use as part of my role, what I and my peers, what we do, when we have conversations with our sales leaders and then with our customers.
Excellent.
It's a
I
very
mean,
high level visual
Yeah.
to kind of ring the message.
Yeah, so you're really at the forefront of this because you are driving innovation and transformation, but it sounds like you're doing it through a very programmatic approach. So is that like an enablement function for account teams, or is it kind of a direct ownership with with the customers?
Right. We sit with the as part of the specialist organization, right? So I'm a specialist, transformation specialist, go-to-market
Mhm.
specialist. So we support the sales leaders and the sales execs and the account teams that are working with select customers. Right, we
Okay.
support, but at the same time, I'm very front end, customer facing, engaging in direct conversations, and it is really the one team, right? I think that in order to do something like this as massive as long term, it takes a village. So
Yeah.
we work with our professional services organization, we work with our partners, we work with our solution architects, CSMs, and account leaders, all of them together to kind of really execute on such a large vision that the customer sets for themselves.
Thank you. And this was one of the case studies you mentioned that was public, right, back in 2021. Can you walk us through this?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can, for people interested, we can post a link. Adam actually spoke at reInvent, right, in prior years. So there's a 40-minute video for folks that are interested in knowing about this case study and what we did with Lockheed Martin for folks that are interested. But this is one of our customers, right? And where we have partnered with them and everything that I spoke about, right, on innovation, on data and insights, and using technologies to modernize their workflows, modernize how they run their business. All of those were part of this transformation initiative at Lockheed Martin. It's usually part of every transformation that I or my team is involved in. So left to right, very quickly, if you think about a massive, huge organization, multi-billion dollars, right, in aerospace and defense sector. Think about fighter jets and underwater missiles and all of that. So that's really the business they're in. And they had ambitious goals. They still have ambitious goals to kind of look at how can they modernize the business, how can they get better insights and input from data, right, that will guide them with recommendations, with actions, with understanding of where various activities are, right? If you think about manufacturing, if you think about the large big rock applications, how they work. And one of the important aspects for them was customer onboarding, right? When customers come and they want to be onboarded to their systems in order to use their products, in order to use their systems, how can they make it easier for their end customer? And typical challenges, this is not unusual. Many of our customers go through these challenges, right? You have businesses that are growing super fast at a high velocity, as a high growth rate. How do you bring together the processes and the people and technologies together so that all of these are supportive of creating impact, of being a more agile organization, and having better product cycle times, right? So these are very typical challenges that a lot of our customers and enterprise organizations face because just by the scale of their business and the nature of the business and the changing aspect of the customers and customer requirements. So we have used many Amazonian programs and mechanisms. So if you think about mechanisms that we have a host of them. Executive visioning, working backwards, experience-based learning. I did talk about, hey, it is important to understand what the customer's North Star is. So defining that North Star for the program, understanding some of the challenges that Lockheed had in terms of the huge data repositories, right, and connected or disconnected systems, and understanding how they can change that, and using a number of different mechanisms and our teams, we kind of helped put together a roadmap in order to modernize and automate their mission critical systems. I think there are about 10 big rocks that were identified initially. And it is not just about the automation or the modernization itself, but also trying to understand how you can build that capability within the organization, how you can maximize the speed and agility, but also it has a lot to do with people and change management and upskilling and upleveling everybody through hands-on and experiential learning that we have. So it is not just about achieving the transformation, but it also is about embedding those capabilities within our customers to drive those transformations by themselves after the set time. So that is really the value that we want to bring, and build those capabilities, right? And that is how we want to be strategic in how we partner with our customers.
Thank you for that. And something that stood out is asking them, what have they not started yet? And that's something that I always try to remember, but I forget. And it's such an important thing to ask, like, what have you not done yet? Because that kind of gives you a sense of, were they thinking about it, or and if they have, why haven't they done it? Because that itself is a question. Why haven't they started? So so that's fantastic. One quick question that came from the chat, from Kate Lassiter, who follows us. Let me throw it up on the screen. When you deal with new market clients, where does your thoughts process start on how to help? Is it case by case, or is there some sort of structured guidelines you follow?
Well, thanks, Gabe. So we have identified some patterns, right? And there are some patterns and some lessons that we have learned along the way working with large organizations such as Lockheed, such as Nationwide. When we have the customer discussion, or when we speak with the customer, it's all cards on the table, right? We try not to form a hypothesis early on, right? We want to understand and hear from them, and of course there is the cumulative knowledge of the account team and what we know about the customers, right? So we have an understanding of where they are on their transformation journey, but it is usually a fairly tailored approach. The approach is tailored, but with every customer, we want to understand where they are. What are those organization specific challenges, organization specific goals and business outcomes that they want to achieve, right? So it is very customer dependent.
Gotcha. I just want to point out one thing about this slide, right? So, right here, when you're looking at key impacts, this is something that I tell people that are interested in working at Amazon when they're telling their story. This is a critical thing that you need to tie in within your story, is to help us understand what was the impact of the decisions you made, right? That got you to that end goal, right? So this is where you see 90% reduction in deployment time, 20 plus more applications automated, application configuration time, 1 hour versus 48 hours. This is the type of data that tells us that we measure success, right? So again, this is how we present to our customers, and this is how we would like you to present your stories. If you are actively interviewing or interested in interviewing later on, this is something that helps us understand what was the challenge, what was the problem, what were you tasked us to solve, what was the solution, and then what was the results, and the results should tie with these kind of metrics.
And this is
And
applicable across too, right? More widely as well, because we focus on the outcomes, right? Not necessarily the output. We
Mhm.
focus on the outcome. How is it measurable? How can we measure them? And when we think about transformation in the same vein, I always ask my customers, how are you really measuring this, right? When you have achieved the said transformation, what does success mean to you in terms of metrics or in terms of KPIs? That's a very important part of those upfront conversations. And as Amazon, we are a very data driven organization. So that is applicable in how we write our OPs, right? Our operating plans, how we write our narratives, and how we interview, and of course, and how we work with our customers.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think you're about to say something.
yeah, well, I just was going to add in that you talk through how we present it, which is the situation, the task, the action, and the results. But I'd like to just elaborate on the actions, because actions tell us what you did, but don't necessarily show us the how you did it. So the how will reveal the behaviors more than just the act in itself. Would anybody agree or disagree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Again, same thing. I think the actions are important. That's kind of when we're interviewing in general, we're trying to understand what actions did you take and why did you take those actions, and helping us understand your whole thought process. And you know, when we're digging into it, is to try to understand your level of experience. Is it, are you taking these actions because that's all you know, or did you take other actions that led you to this? Did you go and get feedback from others? Did you dive in to understand this other system that led you to take this other action? So as we kind of dive in layer to layer, we're really trying to understand, your thought process as a whole. So
There is a
Yeah.
heavy focus on behavior-based situations, right? I think, Jenna, that's where you were
Mhm.
going as well. And how do we refer the past situations, right? And how are they applicable to the work that we do? And how are they useful in reflect in the skills that we bring to the table? I think those are interwoven, and the ability to express that and explain that is important as we talk about this.
And be in detail. So, for example, one can say I used mechanisms to work backwards to achieve the customer's results. Well, tell us what that mechanism was, right? There's one thing to say it, it's another thing to show it. And so I believe that the best approach is hunkering into the devil's in the details.
yeah, I agree. Now, I know you were at Deloitte prior to this for over 8 years, and what made you interested in AWS? Like, how did this come about?
Oh, that's a great question. Interesting question. I was doing this work, right? And I have always been fortunate to be part of great organizations and great cultures. And my prior experience has really helped shape my journey into AWS. I remember, and this is really the power of network and power that you can use, right, to change situations for you, and especially if you're looking out for new roles and new jobs. My One of my really good friends, way back from business school, right? So this was more than a decade ago, of course, and he moved to AWS, and he's still part of AWS, by the way. His name is Tushar. He's an account leader right now, and he was the one, and we started talking about it, and he said that, hey, what you're doing there is great, and you can add to that by actually directly working with the cloud services provider, right? Like AWS, and that's really how the conversation started. And when enterprise transformation role came my way, it was something that I was already working on, and I was brought in to scale this program across customers, right? And it sounded very intriguing. There is a lot of focus on business, right? And that connection between the technology and business is very important. It's not, sometimes we are only perceived as an infrastructure provider or a platform, right? It's more than that. And how do we use our technologies? How do we partner up and show up for our customers, and add these technologies to add value to the customer's business goals? That is the role, and that is the spectrum I play a part in, and that's very exciting.
Mhm,
So I work across sectors and industries, and it's very exciting to see those outcomes that we've spoken about come to life.
mhm. So when you came here, and was there anything that you realized that you needed to quickly learn in order to be successful in your role that maybe
A
you weren't
lot,
prepared to learn?
a lot. there,
It's all of us.
there was a lot that I had to learn, right? Yeah,
What was
Amazon
most surprising?
prides itself on the peculiar culture, but what peculiar actually means, it took me some time to unpack. I joined in 2021, so it was a lot of people were virtual then. So my onboarding had to be done in a remote way. So it took me a little more time to build connections and to meet with various teams. What struck me was just how if the machinery, the operating machinery, right? So there we have so many organizations and so many teams that are laser focused on what is the value that they are bringing, how they go about it, understanding how everybody can actually comes together, how can everybody come together to show up for the customer. That was mind blowing for me. If I'm speaking with a CSM, that's a completely different conversation on what they do. If I'm speaking with a sales leader and getting their perspective, that's a very different conversation. And all of them, based on their relationships with our customers, they possess a lot of knowledge. And that, like I said, it takes a village to bring all of these people together and then deliver. But how we do that, backed by the leadership principles to drive the culture internally, that was very interesting for me and very different from other organizations that I've been part of.
Mhm. So how would you describe now what we mean or your understanding of peculiar culture?
Um, it is. It's tough to give a very simple, brief answer, but I think the peculiar culture is best reflected through the leadership principles, the 16 of them. So if you kind of ingest and understand those principles and what they mean from an Amazonian context, it really helps understand why we work the way we do and why we do what we do. From the six pagers to the narratives to the OP1, OP2, to our interviewing behaviors, how we disagree and commit. And all of that, I think, is best described by those 16 principles.
Which is your favorite?
Um, I have, I really like disagree and commit. And we have passionate arguments and discussions in my team and even with other teams. But what has changed me as a person, as an Amazonian, is the be curious, right? I asking questions. Um, if you're part of affinity group, trying and understanding what various roles are, what does the person next to you in the next meeting room does, right? Which part of the organization they sit in, how are they, what is their plan for the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, what are they hearing from the customers. So the knowledge and the way you operate, the way you work can be absolutely compounded by asking questions, by being more curious. We talk about imposter syndrome, right? We talk about, hey, everything is changing. How do I catch up? By asking more questions, by being more curious. That definitely has changed me as an Amazonian.
Mhm.
Let me ask you this question. Let me take it a step back, right? Back to the time when you're actually interviewing. Now, take the job function itself and out of the equation. Like you're a fit from that perspective. How are we a fit for you? Like when you're looking at an organization and their values or how we operate, what part of that helped make that decision? Say, I want to be part of Amazon at that point.
How is Amazon? I didn't get the
Like
question. Can you
the question is
repeat it
like
for
so
me?
so sometimes the roles can be identical in five different companies, but how did you choose that company? What was it about that company that made you say, I want to do it there?
So many different things, right? One is the size of the company and the nature and the growth rate at which it has been growing, right? It is um, the pace at which the organization moves. There's so much room for taking on exciting things and exciting challenges. So if somebody is looking for, I want to learn 10 different things in a very short span of time, I know what I can bring to the table and I understand this organization goals, so I can figure out where I can be and what I can contribute to that organization goal. So it's a function of both professional growth and personal growth that made this so exciting for me. I was passionate and I was intrigued by cloud. I made a career pivot into cloud. So for me, it was a very easy decision of getting into Amazon.
Gotcha, gotcha. It's funny. I just put up on the on screen. Easy choice always choose the leader. I think that's
Yeah.
funny, right? There's another question I'm going to ask them to kind of elaborate on. But they said, is there a culture in Amazon that makes the colleagues to have time, mood, etc., to respond to a question? If you can, just clarify that because I'm personally not sure what you mean by that. But anyone here, you want to take a stab at it, or you also need clarity? I think we all need clarity. Okay. So I'll wait for you to write in chat. If you can clarify that, Mike, out on 1, 2, 3. Happy to try to answer that for you. So the other thing that I noticed, I'm going to throw it up on screen because I think it's cute. Is this? Let me quickly get to it. If I can close this other screen out. Who is this fella? Open up and let me share this.
I sent you so many pictures. I don't know. Oh,
Yeah, because I know exactly where that location is. Jenna and I know that location on the rooftop of
That's
JFK
one of your
27.
favorite spots, photographer Ray,
It is.
right?
It definitely
I've
is.
seen many of your pictures there.
Yeah.
I absolutely love JFK 27. Today I am situated in JFK 14 though, because I couldn't find a meeting room. Right, it's very much in demand. They're very much in demand. This fella is my boy. His name is Duke Silverman Gudla. Is a Jewish Hindu name.
Hmm.
That that's funny. And yeah, he showed up. He shows up. He showed up. So Duke has passed earlier this year, but
Hmm.
I've had him for 6 years, and it's been a tremendous joy being his dog mom. And yeah, he was the like every other dog, he's the goodest boy.
I'm so happy he had a chance to play in the park here before he went over to the Rainbow Bridge. I'm sorry about that,
Thank you.
but
So you mentioned that you love fostering dogs, and you also sit on the board of Liberty Animal Shelter. Where are they located, by the way?
They used to be located in Jersey City for a very long time.
Mhm.
They have moved to Kearney now, so which is so I'm very close to where I live from them.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And I'm trying to open up this other photo that's taking forever. Oh, there it is. This
oh.
scares the hell out of me.
Bungee? Is that bungee jumping you were doing?
It is scary. So it is the Edge Walk. This was on top of the CN Tower in Toronto, Canada.
Hmm.
So this is more than 100 feet high from ground, and basically you have those anchors, the rope, right? And you walk along the rim of the top of the tower. So it's called Edge Walk. It's actually the highest full circle hands-free walk that you can do in North America.
Hmm.
And I'm all up for adventure, but it was a little scary. It still gives me goosebumps when I think about it. So you
Wow.
Well,
spend an
That,
hour walking on the rim of that building. So it's basically you can see down, and obviously it's a it's a steep drop from there. But you have these supports, and you obviously have to trust the team that you would be safe. I definitely suggest that for adrenaline junkies.
there
yeah. Have
you
you
Go
ever
go during the
done?
sunset.
go.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Have you ever jumped out of a plane?
Not yet.
Oh, maybe that's next. Or spacewalking. I see that in your future.
Yeah, I know, right? It's funny. Kate said, so cool. And this one I kind of find funny, so I'll throw it up. It says, that's solid Bezos energy. It's like,
Yes.
I gotta ask though, anytime someone sends me something like this, right? I want to ask you, like, what was going through your mind that whole time? Like, was there something where you were reflecting on life, or just in that moment trying, hoping not to fall? Like, what was running through your mind at that moment?
I just love travel, and I've been to probably around 60 countries. I haven't really counted recently. And if I'm not traveling, I'm always making a plan
Hmm.
for where I want to go next. So I also like to do unique things. So it's simple and unique things, right? So what's best about that city, and what do most people do? What do they recommend? Also, if they have some amazing sunset or sunrise points, I would love to do that. Go on hikes. This was actually at the not at the bottom, but on the way down to the Grand Canyon.
Wow. Must have been a
Gotcha.
stunning view. Do you consider yourself to be fearless?
Not as much, but I'm definitely. I do take risks, but measured risks, I would think.
I got to throw this up on screen that just came up. Big shout out to Liberty Humane Society. My wife have been able to rescue cats with their help previously here in Hudson County. Glad to hear they're still active, even though they left Jersey City. So,
Yes, that's an interesting topic, right? Their contract with Jersey City has ended, and we had to look for another space. I live in Hoboken, by the way, so very close to Jersey City. I've
mhm.
been in the area for about 7 years now, so very familiar. You must be my neighbor.
Most likely
Do
their
you have
handles
any
are the devil.
fur babies today? Do you have any fur babies now?
I don't. I have fostered probably around 20 different dogs, all kinds, over the last few years, managing that with even during travel sometimes, right? And again, it takes a village. So I have a trusted dog boarder and a dog walker, and many different what do you call, rescues that I work with, and it's an integral part of my life.
Wow. Are we in Egypt here or
Yes.
yes.
Yes,
Okay.
this picture goes back to, I think, 2010 or 2011. My brother and I, we did a trip to Dubai, Jordan, the Dead Sea. So we did the float on the Dead Sea, and finally ended up in Giza with the pyramids.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I floated in that Dead Sea. What a great experience.
I haven't been able to travel as much as you two, and I hope to soon. I've been doing a lot more local on the waters type. And by the way, I don't know if you know Anmol Sekri. He's actually part of. He's actually out of JFK 27 also, but he's also another a foster. But he fosters animals as well. He just got a new puppy that he's fostering that he posted on IG. It's like so handsome. So it's like another foster buddy if you ever
I
want
would
him
have
to.
a hard time giving them up. I think I'd keep them all.
All my nieces say that, hey, how are you able to do that, right? And I say that it is the small price that you have to pay so
Mhm.
that that dog or whatever pet you're fostering, I fostered kittens too, can live the best life they can and finds the best family they're able to. And it gives me a lot of joy, even though the sadness is very, very temporary. I'm just used to that. Do you know, by the way, there's a Slack channel dedicated to dogs at JFK? 27, the cutest pictures come every day.
Yeah.
I have not. That's the funny part. I have like 800 Slack channels, and I didn't realize that one existed yet. So I'll definitely add it to it. But that's the one I'd like to go to more. To be honest. So
Yeah,
just a reset to mind. But I do want
yeah.
to throw this up here again. The person said, "Yes, I'm a Weehawken neighbor. My wife and I still continue to work some of the shelters in the area when we can. Thanks for all your help with LHS." So yeah,
And
cool.
thank you for your help.
Yeah. So awesome. Uh, is this a team photo?
Yes, it's actually with our customers. I believe this was at Wichita, right? So we have a smart factory there, very state of the art smart factory, and we take our customers. I love those visits, and you gotta love when you see those their eyes light up, right? And what's happening and what is possible. and you kind of see, symbiotic like factory floor over there, right? And kind of take all the widgets. How can processes be automated, right? How can you automate the operations on the factory floor, talking through them, exchanging conversation, making it really real, stepping out of the PowerPoint and doing these visits, either to a distribution center or a warehousing facility or a smart factory. I think that's very exciting, and I look forward for those days. And then obviously this was Top Golf.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm I do I don't think I'm suited for golf, but it was fun interacting with them
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay.
and evening
Uh,
out.
so we
We have
actually have a question in the chat that maybe you can help answer. He goes, "Hello, what's your advice to internal business transformation professionals from the industry targeting roles across the table at AWS? Also, top three employee performance metrics valued in your team." I don't know. It's not something I can answer personally because I don't know that your organization and how they, what they look for as far as metrics are concerned. But any advice here?
Absolutely, Rahul. Thank you for the question. The metrics differ from company, from organization to organization, from team to team within Amazon, right? Within AWS as well. So that's a much larger conversation in terms of, but it's definitely around impact, and it could be so many different things. Publicly referenceable case studies, how we work with our customers, the number of the products or solutions coming to a production stage or POC. So there's so many different metrics, revenues, revenue goals, and it depends on the role. And it's not possible to probably elaborate. We'll need a little more time to answer that. In terms of advice for roles around, I think that there is opportunity. There's always there's so many growth initiatives that the organization is focused on, right? And it is a function of your industry experience, and understanding of the industry, and pivoting towards a role that will help you bring that value and have those business centric conversations with the customers directly, and thereby becoming invaluable to the teams here internally as well. And ask The best way is to ask around, have conversations, be curious, like I said. Sometimes there might not be a role that ever existed at all, but it could come up because that is the nature of the business. We obviously will see a lot more roles and titles, and that may look very different from what they have been in the past. So the best way is to ask and talk to your peers, um, have networking chats, conversational coffee chats. You will always leave knowing more.
Yeah, I'll
such good
add.
advice.
Yeah, and I'll add to this because because from what it sounds like, you're currently at your current organization doing the transformation, and now you're trying to get a similar opportunity here at AWS. And I think looking at your background, you did the same. Like well, this is internal. I think they're doing it for their own organization. So one thing I want to say is, if you had completed the transformation, that's a key thing that when you may be ready to actually apply to the roles, right? Where sometimes the people that are applying, they're in the middle of a transformation, but they haven't completed the whole thing yet, and they weren't like leading it from the beginning to the end. Sometimes some people come in the middle of a transformation, etc. So you kind of need to look at the qualifications when you look at the job description, and kind of read between the lines as far as what we're looking for. But usually, we want people that completed that project, delivering on something. So that's one key thing I want you to keep in mind if you do see something up there. Okay.
Yeah. And I actually like too that there are so many different measures of success. I think that helps the people recognize that they can be successful for different parts of the process, or for different varieties of success, given kind of the complex nature of this type of role?
Gotcha. Yeah. I gotta ask you, like, we ask this question all the time to everyone. What have you learned about yourself, during your time here?
So much. I think I've mentioned this about the curiosity, right? It does not come naturally to me. So this is a learning moment. And we have a lot of learning moments or teaching moments at Amazon, as they should, like every role. But we say that, hey, by the way, this is a learning moment, right? So we think about it like that. Um, asking for help does not come to me naturally. I had to learn that, and that's something that I don't think about now as much, right? So if hey, I need something from you, Ray, can we talk about it? Can you do this? Gotten a lot better at asking for help, and really adding to that curiosity component and understanding where every cog sits in the wheel. I think that has been an area of growth for me personally. The other thing is also to be vulnerable. It's okay to be vulnerable, right? So it's okay, and in fact preferred, to bring components of your strengths, right? There's an entire human element to the work we do. And how do we partner up with each other? How do we build trust between the teams? And showing ourselves, like the authentic version of ourselves, the vulnerable parts of ourselves, that's okay. In fact, that's encouraged, because that's what makes you different, and that's what makes you special in a way, right? So your strengths, your vulnerabilities, all of them, you can get to the system and have that work life integration. I've always believed in work life integration throughout my career. I ran at 100 miles an hour, very fast, high velocity trajectories, right? Roles working with customers. So it's important to understand what your sweet spot for balance along that spectrum is. And nobody else can help define that for you. You have to define that for yourself, and then working on that and working around that to accomplish your goals.
That's great advice. Great advice, and it's great to self-reflect, and asking for help was one of the things that I also had to work on. But I think they created a safe space here where you're encouraged to ask for help. We don't want you to, we don't want you to be like treading water here. We want you to take on what you can manage, and if it's overloaded, we could always load balance and whatnot. Because again, the whole thing is we want to make sure we deliver to our customers and deliver the best and not shortcut anything. So, but before we only have a few minutes left before we go out to any closing statements. I do want to add to everyone, I just recently put a link for a quick 1-minute survey for you to just take a look at, just fill it out. 2 simple questions, just open-ended statement, what your thoughts were, as well as what your thoughts are about this episode. And if you're watching on YouTube for the first time, make sure you like and subscribe. And also, if you haven't taken a look at Twitch yet, go to twitch.tv/AWS. We're simulcasting there as well. So when you look at Twitch, we have a lot of live shows like this, where most of the others are with other SMEs, where you're building the technology itself and you're learning about use cases. You're actually coding together. You're actually learning together. So it's fantastic to follow Twitch. And the YouTube Careers channel is for learning more about what it's like to actually work here, what a day in the life is for X type of professional that may be of interest to you. Or if you're interested in about diversity, want to know what it's like for women at Amazon, or what it's like for Black employees at Amazon. We have a lot of content around the Black Employee Network. So there's a lot of different things related to what may pique your interest. So make sure you go ahead and follow or like the others. But again, the survey is very important to us. It helps us understand you and what's of interest to you for continue to develop the program and the type of guests we have here. So yeah, just want to Akhila, just want to thank you again for joining here. I want to get your thoughts. Like, I know I know this was your first live stream. What's your take? How did you feel going through this and engaging with the audience?
Geez, I was a little bit nervous before I joined, of course. I would be lying if I said I'm all cool about it. I'm not doing that. But it's great. Thank you for having me over. I hope at least some of my input is informational and useful to folks that are exploring roles. Um, I would like to say keep looking, keep talking, and working, like ask for help, right? Understand. One of the things that I should have mentioned, and probably it's not too late, is that I was blown away when I started the interview process by how the team, like the hiring team, was intent on setting me up for success, right? Doing my best in the loop, based on real case studies, real references, not like how many windows are there in Manhattan, etc., etc. So I think when as you're preparing for these interviews, talk to as many people, get different perspectives, um, look back in your career and think about all the different things that you have done and how you have shown these behaviors and these skills as part of those case studies. I think that would be extremely helpful in framing, and also having a healthy mindset towards finding roles.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing
Great
that.
advice.
Yeah. Any quick closing thoughts, Jenna, before I sign off?
Never boring, Ray. It's always so nice to meet different people throughout our organization and hear about the great work that they're doing and, um, just the great shares that they have for the community. So thank you for being part of that, Akhila.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you both. Thank you both, and thank you again to the chat. I already thanked you in the chat, but thank you verbally here too for the great questions. We love it when you're engaged with us. So look forward to seeing you all next week. We actually are booked out for almost 2 months, so we have a lot of content coming your way, and excited to share that with you. So enjoy the rest of your day, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.